Hi guys, welcome to another episode of
How to Do Stuff.
And we are still looking at 3D printers this week. My videos won't always be about 3D printers, but I've been wrapped up with this Davinci XYZ Davinci Pro for a few months. I've been doing things to perfect this machine. And I think you'll find a lot of information out there about ways to make things better and things that are better. But for me, my reality is that I want this machine, I want my machine to do what I need it to do for me. Now if you're just making toys and gadgets and things like that, you know, maybe it's not that important. But I do precision parts, and I don't do rapid prototyping like, say, maybe Chat to Brian does, whereas his parts may not need to be strong. While I do some prototyping, ultimately I want this machine to be able to make a usable part on its own. Now of course 3D printing has its limitations, but I want to show you guys what I have done so far to make the Davinci Pro make better quality prints. The other video I have up, you guys can see where I modified the feed tube. That modification still exists. I'm going to look at some more on the feeding system momentarily, but I've added a glass bed to it, and you can get I guess it's called borosilicate glass. Pyrex is borosilicate, so Pyrex baking dishes and stuff. This, however, happens to be just a standard sheet of window glass. I got this for $1.88. Had them cut it to size here, and this wasn't my idea, but I found it was a good idea, and I'll tell you why. Davinci replaced, on the Pro, they replaced the glass printing bed with an aluminum bed, and that aluminum bed heats up faster, but I found that the aluminum dissipates the heat so well that the aluminum is more likely to have hot spots in it, and with the constant heating up and cooling down and heating up and cooling down of the aluminum, a lot of people are getting dips in their bed, getting a low spot in the middle of the bed. I print a lot of small parts for the most part, and I utilize the center of my bed quite a bit. When you get a low spot in the center of your bed, then when you calibrate the four corners for level, the middle is going to be too low, and you're going to have issues with your filament not sticking to the bed. So that's one thing I've done. I've added this glass sheet to the bed, and you can see I've just got these little paper clip type things, one in the middle and the back, and one up here on the corner, just to secure the bed in place. Now I could have made this bed a little bit longer and taken these clamps off. There's a clamp there, and then one under that clip, 4 screws, and these 2 metal brackets will come off. And then I could have actually, if I made the glass a little bigger, I could have secured the bed down with these clamps. The screws are probably long enough, or close to long enough, although I may, or you know, if you do that, you may have to get a little bit longer screws for these 4 screws. Now another thing that I've done is I have moved, now I don't know if this thing's a thermocouple or a thermistor, I'm really not sure, but it's the temperature sensing unit for the bed, and you can see it back in the back corner there. Normally this temperature sensor is mounted over here in the center of the bed, and it's under the metal plate, under the aluminum bed. What I found is that when that temperature, since the Pro only gets up to 90 degrees Celsius for its maximum temperature, the sensor actually gets hot before the rest of the bed does, or before the temperature is uniform in the bed. So I added this glass. It takes longer for it to heat up, but the temperature does get uniform. And then I moved this thermistor, temperature probe, thermocouple thing out here under this back clamp right there. And I've got I experimented a little bit, and I pulled part of it out just to expose it to the air. And right now Right now, what I've got going here is when I fire up the printer, it will initially heat up the bed, and for it to get this temperature probe up to 90 degrees Celsius, it actually gets the bed itself up to about 102 Celsius for about 15 minutes or so until the heat can migrate to that temperature probe, and then it does level off at 90. But that gives me the first two layers have got that extra 12 degrees Celsius, and that gives me really good adhesion to the bed. Another thing that I do, I know a lot of people use Captain tape, PET tape, and I was using the painter's tape on the aluminum bed, and it seemed like the first couple things I printed stuck pretty well, but after that, the tape wasn't damaged or anything, but it just the materials quit sticking to it after a while, and then I would have a print failure because my part came off of the bed. Of course, that was worse with small parts. Moving that temperature probe helps. The glass bed helps because it gets a good even temperature. It gets hotter at first, and then instead of using any kind of tape on it, I just put a good coat of what everybody calls ABS juice, which is just a mixture of your failed parts and filaments. The Pro runs this little cleaning bead down the side of the bed before it starts, so I've got a bunch of those. How I do this is I've just got a little container here that I keep some acetone in, and keeps my brush nice and soft. Got a container here that I throw all my excess stuff in, and I just paint. I just paint an amount of this clear ABS on there. It looks white now, but it dries clear, and then my parts stick really well to that. So that works perfectly. I can put a good coating of ABS on the bed here, give it 10-15 minutes to dry, and I get really good parts adhesion there. Peel the ABS back off and put it in your container ABS juice, and add a little bit more acetone, and constantly have a supply of glue there. You can see that the ABS is already starting to get a lot more clear. Alright guys, another thing that I've done which has really improved my printing. This is very primitive, but it works really well. These two square slots in the top of the Davinci Pro is where the clips go for the two factory feed reels. I just made this reel holder. It slides down on the back, and then it also goes in these two spots, and that puts the reel up here. The filament now feeds directly into the back of the Bowden. That really has taken a lot of the feeder problems out for me as well. But normally what you have is the filament's coming out down here, and it's got to jump up an entire inch to go into the Bowden. And with all the back mount designs, I didn't like that, so I built this design. Had to take the top off, so I went topless, but this works so much better. And then my fix for the top switch there, my fix for the top was just to put a couple quarters in there and hold that switch down. So those are some more of the things that I've done to improve the printing quality on the Davinci Pro. I don't have any problems anymore with curling items coming off the bed anymore. So these things have helped me drastically, and everything I've shown you here today is absolutely, well, other than printing the top reel, it's an absolutely free fix. All it costs you is your time and a little bit of filament. So hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Come back again and I'll show you how to do more stuff.